I don't even know what's going on, so why y'all speaking on I don't know. You snitching.
After that wild clip of Kodak Black went viral and had everyone questioning his mental state, Boosie jumped in online and said straight up, Kodak needs help. That's when things started getting personal. Kodak wasn't having it. He came back ready to handle it in his own way, and what he did next had everyone's eyes glued to their screens. Let's talk about the clash.
I'm a realist, bro. Like, I'm a realist.
In February 2026, a video surfaced of Kodak performing at a Texas show, but something was clearly off. He looked spaced out, could barely stand, and security had to keep him upright. On top of that, people said he pulled up 9 hours late. Within hours, that footage took over every timeline. Boosie saw it too. He wasted no time and jumped in the comments saying, "Dude need help from afar." And just like that, their long-running tension was back front and center again. But this wasn't their first round. Boosie had been calling Kodak out for a long time, months, maybe even years.
You snitching. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of them like, man, come on, man.
Every time he opened his mouth about Kodak, the Florida rapper clapped back even harder. He's got something to say about him in public. Kodak made it clear. He sees himself in a certain light, and Boosie jumping online trying to paint him like some reckless wild card just didn't sit right. But the moment that really shook the internet was when Kodak looked dead into the camera and said, "You snitching." Line sent shockwaves everywhere. You feel me? When Kodak dropped that line, things got real. Because let's be honest, that word snitch carries serious weight in the streets. Calling someone that can destroy a man's name in seconds. But Kodak wasn't saying Boosie was sitting down with the feds or cutting deals behind closed doors. Nah, he meant something else. He was calling out Boosie for blasting his personal business online for everybody to see.
I plan with me, the internet. I swear to God.
That's the kind of thing you just don't do. In Kodak's eyes, that was his own kind of betrayal, his own version of ratting. He was basically saying, you running your mouth about another man's struggles, his habits, his private life, on the internet. That's out of line. And Kodak wasn't sugarcoating a single thing. He was keeping it 100. No sneak disses, no hidden meanings, no halfway talk. He stared right into that camera and told Boosie straight up to fall back. Then he doubled down, saying, I don't be in nobody's mix like that. I don't care what you got going on. That's when Kodak drew his line in the sand. He made it clear. He don't be hopping online to talk about what's going on inside Boosie's house. So why does Boosie keep speaking on him anymore? It was personal. Pain they felt from people spreading stories that weren't theirs to tell. It's deeper than music. Kodak wasn't just defending his name. He was standing up for something that mattered to him. To him, Boosie talking reckless online was just like someone snitching in the streets. And where they come from, that's one of the worst things you can do. Meanwhile, Boosie had already started firing back, ready to defend himself. Boosie had already gone on camera admitting that fans were pressing him hard for always speaking on everybody's business, especially after he weighed in on the Young Thug situation. He even said Kodak had been gunning for him online.
My brother got told, I got told when I was in carjacking. What is?
But according to Boosie, he had way bigger problems to deal with at that time. See, Boosie wasn't just caught in rap drama. He had the feds breathing down his neck. Federal gun charges were stacking up and sentencing was right around the corner. He said flat out that he didn't have the energy or focus to entertain whatever Kodak was talking about. But then, Boosie dropped one line that flipped the whole situation upside down. He said, me and Kodak both trying to eat off the same plate from the same people. That bar changed everything. It hinted that Boosie wasn't attacking Kodak as some random rival. He was talking like someone who felt they were in the same lane, hustling for the same bag, trying to survive off the same industry pipeline. To Boosie, it sounded like a reminder, like he was saying, we should understand each other. But Kodak didn't take it that way, not even close.
All this shit I'm going through right now, like, man, I shouldn't even have no energy. Like, I'm going through real gangster.
From Kodak's perspective, Boosie was just another person constantly throwing his name around for no reason. He was tired of seeing his business turn into a headline every time Boosie went live or gave an interview. Kodak wanted all of that noise to stop, period. Then came Kodak's coldest line of the whole back and forth. I get about you and scream, you rap. That one hit like a punch. That line summed up Kodak's entire stance. He didn't see Boosie as someone with the authority to talk about his life. He saw him as just another rapper, nothing more.
I can't be going back and forth on no internet, bro. Like, especially,
This wasn't about who had better albums or who ran the charts. It was about one man demanding another stop speaking on his name, and that other man refusing to stay quiet. And what went down in February 2026? That was just the latest chapter in their long saga. The tension didn't start there. It had roots deep in the past. Everything that exploded online that year could be traced back to 2023, when things between Boosie and Kodak looked very different. Back then, before all the sneak disses, diss tracks, and public shots, the two actually had what looked like genuine mutual respect. Back in the day, things between Boosie and Kodak weren't all smoke and tension. It was more of an OG and young bull type of vibe.
I'm trying to get the same thing you got from the same people. And you know that, bro. Come on, type of shit you in.
Boosie used to speak highly of Kodak in interviews, praising that raw, untamed talent he had. He said Kodak had that special sauce you just can't teach. Either you got it or you don't. Boosie even told a story about how he once pulled Kodak to the side and kept it real with him, saying, "You need to get out of Florida, man. That place around you too toxic." He warned Kodak that the environment and drama constantly circling him would dragging him down. It was the kind of talk only a real OG gives, a tough love moment from someone who's already seen the traps and the scars of the streets. Boosie wasn't clout chasing, he was speaking from experience, genuinely trying to help Kodak see the bigger picture. And even though Kodak didn't always take advice, he did acknowledge that dynamic later on. In one of his bars, he even admitted, "I used to look up to Boosie." That line later got twisted and turned into a diss, but at that time, it was nothing but real. There really was a mentorship type of energy between them, even if it wasn't official, even if they weren't hanging out every day.
I care about you industry, you rap, you.
But all that mutual respect and guidance went up in flames by the summer of 2023, and it all came crashing down because of one name that always brings drama wherever it shows up: Tekashi 6ix9ine. In July 2023, Kodak linked up with 6ix9ine for a track called Shakalaka, and the culture went crazy over it. You gotta remember, by then, 6ix9ine wasn't just controversial, he was straight up infamous. The man had taken the stand in federal court and pointed fingers at his own crew, his day ones. In the world of hip-hop, that made him the biggest example of what not to do. To most of the rap community, working with 6ix9ine was the ultimate violation of street code. Nobody with real credibility wanted to be seen near him, let alone record with him. The collab had fans divided. Some called it bold, others said it was betrayal. But to Boosie, there was no debate. This wasn't about music, it was about principles. Boosie didn't hold back. He came out hot, furious, and loud. He went scorched earth on Kodak, calling out the collab as a slap in the face to everything street artists stood for.
Kodak Black just got arrested.
Yeah.
Apparently, he was high off something. He fell asleep in his car when the police pulled.
That one move from Kodak burned the whole mentor-student bridge to ashes. Boosie made it loud and clear. He wasn't giving Kodak a pass for anything. Not for money, not for fame, not for views, nothing. His words cut deep, almost like he felt personally betrayed. He basically told Kodak that no bag, no hit record, and no industry favor could ever make teaming up with someone who broke the street code acceptable. But Boosie didn't stop there. He took it way further. He questioned Kodak's whole street background, suggesting that maybe Kodak never really lived the life he kept rapping about. And coming from Boosie, that kind of talk hit different. This is a man who did real time behind bars, someone the South sees as one of the most authentic voices to ever touch a mic. So when he questioned Kodak's credibility, it landed like a punch to the gut.
They say that he had a mouthful of cocaine.
Yeah.
If that video comes out, if they had a body cam and you see Kodak.
For Boosie, this wasn't just about one controversial collab, it was about what that move represented. In his eyes, it looked like Kodak was willing to throw away his integrity, his code, and everything he claimed to stand for just to chase a check. Kodak wasn't having it though. He clapped back instantly, reposting a video calling Boosie a clown. Their first real exchange is smoke, and from there, it set a whole pattern that kept playing out over the next few years. Boosie kept positioning himself as the accountability cop, calling people out for breaking the rules, while Kodak kept firing back, asking, "Who made you the judge of anything?" By August 2023, things got even hotter. Boosie took the beef from Instagram to the booth. He dropped a diss track called Ungrateful, and he went directly at Kodak. The song targeted the 6ix9ine collab head-on, accusing Kodak of ruining his own reputation with reckless decisions and shady alliances.
With a mouthful of cocaine, that's going to be the biggest meme of 2024.
The track was raw, gritty, and fun of emotion. It sounded like Boosie wasn't just rapping, he was venting years of frustration. In that song, Boosie made it clear this wasn't just about the music business, this was about the culture they both came from. He felt Kodak had violated the street code that raised them both, and that was something he couldn't overlook. For Boosie, Ungrateful was more than a track, it was a statement. Then came the money drama, the bread situation. In November 2023, Boosie accused Kodak of jacking his sound and using parts of his music without permission or respect. Now it wasn't just personal, it was financial. Boosie felt like Kodak had taken from him, creatively and culturally, and didn't show any love back.
Yeah, I don't laugh because I don't laugh at people's troubles, bro. I got my own trouble.
That accusation added a whole new layer to their feud, a layer fueled by both pride and money. At that point, it wasn't just about respect in the streets or integrity in the game, it was about ownership, credit, and legacy. And to Boosie, that was one more disrespect stacked on top of everything else, and he wasn't letting it slide. Boosie felt Kodak had already crossed a major line when he linked up with a known snitch, but then things got even worse. Word spread that Kodak was also eating off Boosie's own catalog. That sampling accusation flipped the entire situation upside down. What started as a battle about principles suddenly became about money, and once Boosie's bag got dragged into it, you knew there was no easy way to squash it. Pride and pockets, two things you don't play with. All the smoke from 2023 rolled straight into the new year without a single break.
That he doesn't do cocaine, he does meth and perks. Like, this is somehow better. Like, he said, I ain't no junkie.
There was zero cool down. By February 2024, Kodak came sliding back with a track called 11 a.m. in Malibu, and he aimed that diss directly at Boosie. The track reignited every ounce of tension that had barely started to fade. Boosie didn't waste time either. He fired right back, defending his stance and repeating his warning that Kodak was his own worst enemy. Boosie claimed Kodak was fumbling his bag, wasting his potential, and making choices that were hurting him more than any rival ever could. And by March 2024, Boosie was saying it everywhere, on podcasts and interviews and any camera that pointed his way. He told the world that Kodak's career had been in a downward spiral ever since that 6ix9ine collab. In his words, Kodak had turned himself into a textbook case of self-sabotage. Then, for a quick moment, it looked like things might calm down. There was a tiny window in 2024 when Boosie seemed ready to move on.
I told y'all before, man, even when me and Kodak had, I won't see him get help, bro.
He went public saying he was done beefing, that he wished Kodak nothing but success, and that the media needed to stop pitting black artists against each other for clicks. It was a solid grown man move, the kind of olive branch that could have buried the drama once and for all, if both sides were willing to let it go. But that peace, it didn't last long. It was built on sand, because even though the 6ix9ine collab sparked everything, that wasn't what kept the feud alive. The real gasoline on this fire came from something else, something Boosie had been side-eyeing for a while: Kodak's drug use. That's the part that really had Boosie worried. He wasn't just mad about the collabs or the disrespect anymore. He was watching Kodak's lifestyle spiral, and to him, it looked like the man was falling deeper into chaos. That's when the beef shifted from rap to real life. It wasn't just bars and interviews anymore. It was about health, control, and self-destruction. And once that came into play, the situation got way darker.
I know that shiny skin that...
What does shiny skin mean? What do you mean?
It's like a drug addict.
If the 6ix9ine collab was the explosion that blew up the bomb between Boosie and Kodak, then Kodak's substance abuse was the quiet thread running underneath every single thing that came after. It's the part of the story that never gets said outright, but you can feel it every time Boosie talks about him. It's the real reason behind all those moments when Boosie calls Kodak's behavior crazy or off. That's the hidden fuel in this entire saga. Underneath the public shots and interviews, Boosie's tone is always switched between two extremes. One minute, he sounds like a rival ready to throw hands, and the next, he sounds like an older OG who's been there and can see Kodak heading down the same dark path he once barely escaped. That push and pull energy defines their whole history. The most powerful example of that came when Kodak caught a new charge, and details from his arrest started spreading online. Boosie spoke on it during an interview, and the way he handled it said everything. There was that usual mix of humor and disbelief, but deep down, you could hear something else, real concern. The reports about Kodak's arrest was straight up wild, stuff that made the internet lose its mind. Boosie repeated what was being said, painting a picture so outrageous it was hard to know whether to laugh or feel bad. It sounded like something you see in a viral meme, except this was real life. Boosie was almost speechless as he tried to wrap his head around it. He even admitted the whole situation was about to become another online circus. But in the middle of laughing, right there in the interview, Boosie caught himself. He pulled back, his voice shifted, the joke stopped, and for a split second, what came through was sadness, like he was watching someone crash out who didn't even realize how far gone they were. That right there, that mix of roasting and worry, is the emotional tug-of-war Boosie's been fighting from day one. He clowns Kodak online, calls him out, mocks his moves, but behind all the noise, it's clear he still cares. It's like he's torn between frustration and compassion, between wanting to shake Kodak back to reality and knowing he can't save him. Even after all the disses, all the interviews, and all the chaos, Boosie has said it again and again. At the end of the day, he just wants Kodak to get right. That's the most complicated part of their whole story. It's not just beef, it's a mix of hurt, disappointment, and that deep down wish for the young homie to finally find his way back. People have argued for years about Boosie's true intentions, whether his concern for Kodak is real from the heart or just for the cameras. Fans and blogs keep debating it, but one thing's for sure, Boosie has never stopped saying he wants Kodak to get right. And then came the moment that sent the whole situation into pure chaos. After Kodak's arrest, he jumped on Instagram Live to shut down the cocaine allegations himself, and what he said next made things even wilder. His explanation had people more confused than his own mugshot. The internet blew up instantly. Memes, clips, reactions. Everyone was locked in trying to figure out what he was even talking about. Kodak denied the coke rumors, but then casually admitted to using meth and Percocets. Like what? That statement flipped everything upside down. Instead of clearing things up, it made the whole situation even messier. Fans said it was the kind of defense that made the original charge look small compared to what he admitted. The rebuttal was so off the wall that it completely drowned out whatever point Kodak was trying to make in the first place. Of course, Boosie didn't stay quiet about it. He jumped in with that same mix of frustration and fatigue, like a man watching someone he used to respect drive off a cliff in slow motion while swearing they had everything under control. Even with all the disses flying, all the insults tossed back and forth, Boosie kept his stance solid. His comments about Kodak's substance issues weren't for clout, they were about pattern recognition. That right there is what makes Boosie's whole position so complicated. He's beefing with Kodak, going toe-to-toe in public, but deep down, he's also worried about the man. And in Boosie's mind, those two things don't cancel each other out. He can think Kodak's dead wrong for dissing him, and at the same time think Kodak's spiraling, and he'll post both feelings
around him. I've been around them dudes who...
Then Boosie went even deeper during an interview, breaking down exactly how he spotted the signs. He said he could tell by Kodak's physical mannerisms, his speech, his posture, his eyes, that something was off. These weren't guesses. These were things that someone who's been close to addiction recognizes immediately. Boosie wasn't talking like some outsider who read about it online. He was speaking like someone who had lived it, who had seen those same symptoms up close. He mentioned how he'd seen those same tells in people around him and even in himself. He said he'd been watching Kodak's appearances on shows like Drink Champs and No Jumper, and everything about how Kodak carried himself just confirmed what his gut had been screaming all along. Then Boosie dropped his most honest confession yet, the kind of raw moment that made everyone stop scrolling for a second. He admitted straight up that he'd been in that same dark place before. He said he used to be on PCP and angel dust, and that's how he recognized what Kodak was going through, because he'd seen it before, in the mirror. That revelation hit hard. It wasn't just Boosie throwing shade anymore. It was a man speaking from experience. He wasn't clowning Kodak for being lost. He was saying, I've been there too. It turned the conversation from mockery into something way more human and heavy. Underneath all the disses and the drama, there was something real. An ex-addict recognizing the same pain in another man trying to hold it together while the whole world watched. That confession from Boosie changed everything. In that moment, the conversation flipped from one man simply calling another out to something way more personal, raw and real. It became a scene of an older man staring at someone younger and seeing a reflection of his own mistakes staring right back at him. Whether Kodak took it that way or not, that's up for debate. But for Boosie, this part of the beef was never just about throwing shots in a diss track. For him, the drug issue was the emotional core of it all, the real source of his frustration. He was watching a young man with undeniable, God-given talent slowly destroy himself, choosing substances over stability, chaos over control, and the only weapon Boosie had left was his voice. He couldn't save Kodak, he couldn't force him to change, so he did the only thing he could, speak on it. But then came another layer, something even darker and way more explosive. If the drug issue gave this feud its emotional heartbeat, then the next topic, snitching, injected it with pure venom. By September 2025, whispers were spreading everywhere about Young Thug's conduct in his RICO case. The streets were flooded with rumors that Thug might have been cooperating with the feds. It was the kind of claim that split hip-hop right down the middle. Half the culture refused to believe it, while the other half said the signs were all there. Every timeline, every podcast, every barbershop conversation was lit with that debate. And right in the middle of that firestorm, Kodak Black stepped up and stirred the pot in the boldest way possible. He went online and publicly questioned why Boosie, a man who'd built his entire brand on keeping it real and calling out every violation, was suddenly silent. Kodak didn't frame it like an innocent question either. It was calculated. He was pressing Boosie's entire identity, the same real one image Boosie had been standing on for years. Boosie had always been the rapper who said the things other people were scared to say, the voice of the streets, the unfiltered truth teller who never bit his tongue. So when one of the biggest snitching rumors in modern hip-hop hit and Boosie didn't say a word, Kodak made sure the world noticed. That move wasn't random, it was surgical. Kodak was basically saying, you got all that energy for me, but you quiet when it comes to Thug. The message was live without even needing to spell it out. Either Boosie was too scared to speak on Thug's situation, or all that keeping it real talk was selective, tough on smaller names like Kodak, but silent when it came to people with bigger clout or heavier connections in the streets.
Yeah, I've been getting my fans on my ass. Everybody in my DM talking about, speak on the Thugger shit.
That accusation hit hard. It wasn't just shade, it was an attack on Boosie's character. Kodak was testing whether Boosie really lived by the code he preached. The internet went wild, dissecting every word, every silence, every post Boosie didn't make. Fans started questioning whether the Baton Rouge legend had lost the fearless edge that once made him so respected. But one thing about Boosie, he's not the type to let somebody come for his reputation and just sit quiet. That kind of challenge, he wasn't about to let it slide, not after everything that had already gone down between them. Boosie didn't let Kodak's shot sit for long. He fired back hard with a lengthy post on X, Twitter, hitting Kodak from every direction at once. His tone was sharp, confident, and loaded with that trademark Boosie bite. He brushed off Kodak's accusations and said this wasn't about Young Thug or any accountability talk. It was about old feelings that Kodak never let go of. According to Boosie, Kodak was still mad over the comments from way back during the whole 6ix9ine drama, and this was just him trying to stir things back up. Boosie made it crystal clear. He speaks when he wants, about what he wants, and nobody, not even Kodak, gets to tell him when to open his mouth. That's Boosie's rule, period. But instead of stopping there, he took things up several notches. He went straight for Kodak's jugular. Boosie accused Kodak of checking PC, meaning he supposedly entered protective custody while locked up. And in the world they both come from, the streets and the prison system, that accusation is brutal. Being labeled as someone who went into protective custody is basically like having a stain that never fades. It's seen as the ultimate white flag, a sign that you couldn't handle general population and had to request safety. Whether that claim was true or not almost didn't matter, because once someone says it publicly, it sticks. And Boosie knew exactly how deep that cut would go when he put it out there for everyone to see. Then Boosie doubled down, going at Kodak's career with no filter. He said straight up that Kodak's whole run had been sliding downhill ever since that collab with 6ix9ine, and that now, instead of being remembered as a talented artist, people would start remembering him as a drug addict. No sugarcoating, no sympathy, just pure smoke. But then Boosie did something unexpected. He kept it real about his own motives too. He admitted openly that he speaks on situations when there's a check behind it. If someone books him for a podcast or interview, then he pulls up and talks, because that's part of his hustle. In his words, he does it for the bag. That move was both raw and strategic. By saying his silence on the Young Thug situation was about business, not fear or favoritism, Boosie flipped Kodak's narrative completely. He basically said, I don't owe nobody free commentary. If I'm gonna talk, somebody better be paying for it. That statement let him dodge Kodak's "you scared to speak" accusation, while also reminding everyone that his time has a price tag, and Kodak, he wasn't paying it. Boosie later expanded on it during an on-camera interview. He looked frustrated but controlled, addressing the heat he was getting from all sides. He said fans were all up in his mentions, tagging him non-stop, flooding his DMs, begging him to speak on the Thug situation once and for all. Even his own fan base was turning the pressure up high. But Boosie's response was pure strategy. He said he'd talk about it when the timing was right, on his own terms, not because the internet demanded it, not because Kodak provoked him, but because he decides when and how to speak. That was Boosie planting his flag in the ground, reminding everybody that he moves at his own pace. No one controls his clock. At the same time, though, he admitted that this topic wasn't one he could dodge forever. He knew the weight that came with the Young Thug case, the way it cut to the heart of street culture, loyalty, and reputation. And Boosie's silence, no matter how he framed it, was becoming part of the story itself. So in that post and everything that followed, Boosie did what he always does, mixed business with bluntness, pride with pain. He didn't just defend himself, he flipped the spotlight back on Kodak, showing that he could still command the narrative on his own terms.
It's time for me to speak on anything I'm gonna speak on. Whoever put me on their couch, bro, I'm a open book. I'm gonna speak on it, I'm gonna tell how I feel.
That's Boosie, man, always setting his own pace. When he said, when somebody gotta put me on that couch, you better do, what he really meant was simple. He wasn't about to spill his thoughts on the Young Thug situation just anywhere. He needed the right stage, the right interviewer, and the right setup before he said a word. He wasn't gonna hop on Instagram Live and start ranting just because Kodak or the internet was trying to push his buttons. Meanwhile, on Kodak's side, the snitching theme became his favorite weapon to throw right back. In his response video, Kodak doubled down hard, flipping the word snitching to redefine what Boosie was doing. He wasn't saying Boosie was talking to cops or working with the feds. Nah, he was saying that Boosie was snitching in spirit. To Kodak, every time Boosie got on a podcast or went online to talk about his drug use, his behavior, or his personal demons, it was a violation, a betrayal of street code. He saw Boosie's commentary as the ultimate disrespect, as if he was dragging another man's private pain out into the open for clout. In Kodak's world, that's snitching, plain and simple. This twist completely reframed their whole feud. It wasn't just about who was right about the 6ix9ine situation anymore. It turned into something way deeper. Now it was a moral war about loyalty, privacy, and respect. It was about what one man owes another, even when both of them live in the public eye. Boosie felt like he was just calling things how he saw them, saying what everybody could already see for themselves. To him, it wasn't airing someone out, it was truth-telling. But to Kodak, saw it differently. He believed Boosie was crossing the line of the unspoken code that both of them were supposed to live by. In his eyes, Boosie was exposing him to the world, and that wasn't something you ever did to another man, especially one from the same trenches. Neither one of them was willing to budge, not even a little. Boosie stood on principle, Kodak stood on pride, and by the time January 2026 hit, the tension was boiling over. That's when Kodak decided to take the fight back to where hip-hop beefs always hit the hardest, the music. On January 7, 2026, Kodak Black dropped a new track titled Christmas Eve, and it was pure fire. No filters, no subliminals, no guessing games. He didn't dance around names or drop sneaky clues. He said it loud and clear. It was a direct Boosie diss, straight to the chest, and there was no way anyone could pretend otherwise. Kodak came with venom in his voice and pride in every bar. He rapped, "Fuck that lame nigga Boosie," looking down on a young nigga getting skriller. "I used to look up to Boosie. He hate I got more bread. That old head stupid." Those lines hit the culture like a grenade. They were heavy, layered, and full of emotion. Pain, anger, resentment, and a little satisfaction all mixed together. Kodak wasn't just dissing Boosie, he was rewriting their entire history in a few lines. He flipped his old respect into open rebellion. That lyric, "I used to look up to Boosie," was used to mean something positive. It was Kodak admitting his admiration years ago, but now it was being thrown back as a taunt, a symbol of how far things had fallen. What started as mentorship and brotherhood had turned into public warfare, and Christmas Eve made it official. There was no going back. By that point, the situation wasn't about lessons, interviews, or even morals. It was personal, too personal. Kodak wasn't just clapping back, he was torching the bridge completely. And with that single track, he made it clear the student had declared war on the teacher, and the feud had reached a level neither of them could ever walk away from quietly.
Well, somebody gotta put me on that couch, better do that.
Kodak's Christmas Eve track didn't just light the match, it poured gasoline on the fire. In those few bars, Kodak laid out 3 deadly blows. First, he admitted that he once had real respect for Boosie. Second, he accused Boosie of being jealous of his success and his money. And third, he officially buried any ounce of admiration he ever had for the OG. That one line, "I used to look up to Boosie," hit like a dagger. What was once a heartfelt nod from a young artist to a veteran became a weaponized lyric, flipped to sting like betrayal. It was Kodak's way of saying, whatever honor you once had in my eyes, you lost it. He basically told Boosie that any status, any respect, any mentorship he once held, it was gone, and it was Boosie's own fault. The message was clear. Boosie's actions had destroyed the bridge between them. But what really sent Boosie over the edge wasn't just the lyrics, it was the timing. Christmas Eve dropped on January 7th, 2026, just 2 days before Boosie's federal gun sentencing on January 9th. That timing was brutal. Boosie saw it as a deliberate move, a low blow meant to shake his headspace at one of the most crucial moments in his entire life. Whether Kodak planned that drop strategically or it just happened to line up that way didn't even matter anymore. Once Boosie decided in his mind that it was intentional, it was war, and he didn't waste a single day responding. On January 8th, he unleashed his nuclear clapback on X, Twitter, and it was explosive. Boosie called Kodak a clout-chasing crackhead, combining 2 of his harshest attacks into one vicious tag. That insult perfectly blended his ongoing shots about Kodak's substance issues with the claim that Kodak only dissed him for attention. Boosie's message was that this wasn't about real beef, it was about desperation. He painted Kodak as a washed-up artist grasping for headlines by poking at people who were still relevant. And Boosie didn't whisper it either. He typed the whole post in all caps, the internet version of screaming in somebody's face across the block. It was pure, unfiltered rage in text form. He went all in, no holding back, no filters, no diplomacy. Boosie wrote, "You know what I got going on, and you do this the day before court?" That one line said everything. It showed how deeply he took the timing as personal, not just petty, but malicious, like Kodak was intentionally trying to rattle him when he was already facing serious time. Then Boosie started swinging wild, throwing insult after insult. He called Kodak's music trash, said his physical appearance was even worse, and claimed his career was done for. He ended the tirade with a final venom-filled jab, saying the only time anyone even thought about Kodak anymore was when he mentioned Boosie or NBA Youngboy. That last claim was the deadliest of them all. It wasn't just shade, it was a full-blown career insult. Boosie was basically saying Kodak was irrelevant on his own and had to use Boosie's name just to stay visible. It was him declaring that Kodak wasn't an equal opponent in this beef. He was a clout leech, feeding off of Boosie's name because his own buzz had flatlined. In Boosie's version of the story, this wasn't a battle between two powerful rappers, it was a setup. He believed Kodak had turned their whole rivalry into content, using Boosie's fame as fuel to keep his own name floating online. That accusation hit deep because it spoke to one of the biggest fears in hip-hop, being used by someone who can't shine on their own. By the end of that fiery exchange, all the old mentor-student energy was completely gone. This wasn't about lessons or respect anymore. It was pure ego, pride, and pain. Boosie felt disrespected at his lowest moment, and Kodak felt like he was reclaiming power from someone who used to look down on him. That January back and forth cemented what everyone already suspected. There was no peace coming anytime soon. The feud wasn't just music now, it was personal history turned warfare, and every bar, every post, every insult was just another shot fired in a battle neither man was willing to walk away from. Whether the charts and streams truly backed up Boosie's claim didn't even matter, because as a strategic move, it hit hard. It stripped Kodak of his footing in the beef, painting him as the one reaching for relevance instead of standing on solid ground. That January exchange turned the internet upside down, with fans arguing all over social media about who really means more to the South and whose legacy runs deeper in the game. The debates were heated and split clean down the middle. On one side, you had fans saluting Boosie, saying he was keeping it real about Kodak's spiral, given the kind of tough love that hip-hop desperately needs from its older voices. To them, Boosie wasn't hating, he was trying to save someone from self-destruction before it was too late. But on the other side, plenty of people called Boosie obsessed, even weird for being so locked in on another man's personal life. They brought up his own long list of scandals and legal battles, saying he wasn't exactly the right one to be handing out moral lessons. Some felt like Boosie was projecting, using Kodak's struggles as a mirror for his own past. Then came February 2026, the moment that brought the entire saga full circle. Kodak hit the stage in Texas looking out of it, needing security to hold him up, and reports said he had shown up 9 hours late. When that clip went viral, Boosie's response was only 5 words long, but they carried 3 years of history behind them. Dude need help, for real. Those 5 words summed up everything. Every diss track, every podcast rant, every insult, every accusation about clout chasing, drugs, or snitching. After all the chaos, it circled back to the same point Boosie had been hammering since the beginning. Kodak needs help. Boosie had said it before and stood by it again. No matter how messy things got, his message stayed consistent. He didn't just see himself as Kodak's rival, he saw himself as someone trying to sound the alarm. In his eyes, nobody around Kodak was stepping in, so he felt like he had to speak up, even if it meant becoming the villain in the story. Of course, whether that's real concern or self-serving justification depends on who you ask. Some say Boosie genuinely cares and sees Kodak heading down the same dangerous road he once walked. Others think it's just Boosie keeping himself in the spotlight by attaching his name to Kodak's chaos. But one thing's for sure, the beef between Boosie Badass and Kodak Black is still wide open, with no truce in sight. Kodak keeps firing back, telling Boosie to mind his own business, while Boosie keeps doubling down, saying he's just calling it how he sees it. The internet? It's eating it all up. Fans debating, memes flying, and timelines buzzing over every new clip and post. It all started with a collab that broke the code, And now, years later, it's become one of the most layered emotional rivalries in modern hip-hop. So tell me, what do you think? Was Boosie speaking truth out of genuine concern for Kodak, or did he cross the line by putting that man's business out there for the world to see? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next deep dive into hip-hop's wildest beefs.